All right, let's start. Okay. So good to see you all back here again in this maybe a series of Dhamma talk. And after about 5 months, I stopped those talks. Maybe a bit rusty right now. Sometimes the Zoom also do not know how to use a little bit. So, let us start. Now, tonight's Dhamma talk, and also I think maybe I'll take about 2 or 3 days just to cover this talk. Now, this Dhamma talk is maybe not that simple. It is a bit more deeper, but I try to make it as simple as possible because here in this group over here may not be everybody is in especially in the Vipassana meditation. And some of us may be in doing Samatha meditation, or some of us may be doing Vipassana, but not that much. Some of us do quite a lot of Vipassana. And they have developed certain degree of development, and perhaps these types of talk will be beneficial to them. But nevertheless, for those who do not able to understand later on, then it is still good because at least you get an exposure about what is this 18 principle insight. Because most of the time we don't hear this, or you never heard of all these things before. So it'll be good that I go through it, and we see where we can able to pick up on it. So, all right, let us start. Now, most of the time what you will hear about this insights, usually you will hear about the 16 insight knowledges, right? Mostly or most of the time or all the time you'll be seeing about this insight, that insight, and you relate it to all the 16 insight knowledge. Whereas also in the commentaries, then they elaborate, expose it further on these insights and what characteristics are actually you are looking into it. So in brief, this 18 principle insight, we are looking into the characteristics. Basically, we are looking into characteristics, not just only anicca, dukkha, anatta, but to expand upon this anicca, dukkha, anatta in much more clearer manner, in much more deeper manner, and all these things arises from the practice. All this arises from Vipassana development. This is not in the area of Samatha development, as I said earlier. This is also not in the area of your everyday life thing. This 18 principle insight, it's when a yogi develops, and when the Vipassana yogi develops his mind, and then this 18 principle insight will become clear to the yogi. Okay. So let us look into it a little bit more. But tonight now, I'm not going to elaborate until make you all pasikat kaleo, make you all until mong cha cha everything. So we are not going to do that yet. What we're going to begin is that we're going to look into the background first. We're going to look into the background, how this 18 principle of insight arises as a yogi, and also where in the text that all these things are connected. So we're going to look into it a little bit. Then maybe in the future and the following talks, then we're going to go into a deeper. All right. Okay. So, we share the screen. Okay. Wait, let's see. Okay. Let us share the screen. Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, here. All right. Okay. Can you all see? Introduction to the 18 principles of insight. Can? Okay, good. Now, the introduction, this is an introduction. We are not going to go into too much detail into it. So it will give you a basic understanding of what is this 18 principle insight. Now the Pali word is attarasa. Attarasa here is 18. Maha Vipassana, usually we'll translate Maha as great, Vipassana as insight. But here we look at it as principle insight. Now the reason is here is that later part when we look into actual insight itself, then we'll see that why this word it's actually appropriate rather than great, so you can find it in here. You can find this introduction on Visuddhimagga, chapter XX means chapter 20, then on the paragraph number 8. And also a few other paragraphs also. You can find it in Visuddhimagga. And also you can find it in another one. It's called Patisambhidamagga. Magga, the path of discrimination. That also, it gives you brief understanding about this 18 principle insight. Now if you read this sorry. Now, if you read this Visuddhimagga, actually, you're not going to know anything. You know 18 only. But more than that, you do not know what it's talking about already. So here my job is to explain it a little bit more. But finally, this 18 principle insight, it's coming from the actual practice when a yogi notes the object. When the yogi pays attention to the object of vipassana. Okay, now just give you a brief aspect of it. What are the 18 principle insight? Okay. Now let me make it a bit slightly smaller, a little bit. Okay. Now, in this 18 principle insight, it begins with contemplation of impermanence, contemplation of unsatisfactoriness, and contemplation of non-self. Anicca-nupassana, dukkha-nupassana, anatta-nupassana. Okay, this is the three things usually we know. Okay. Now the following ones, the number 4 until number 18, all these ones are what we call the subset, or what we call the you can group them in a certain way, and all of them can either fall under impermanence or unsatisfactoriness or non-self. They're going to fall within here. So here is how when we pay attention to an object of vipassana, then when you develop it in a certain manner, in a certain way, and you develop far enough, then the contemplation of impermanence become clear to you. Now, how is the nature of impermanence like? That one, of course, we're going to explain it in a short while. Also, or unsatisfactoriness, how the whole thing is like, not just your buttock pain here, buttock pain there. That one is dukkha, yes, but not deep enough yet. So non-self, how is the non-self is like? What is the disenchantment? What is the fading away? What is the cessation of it? What is the relinquishment? And so on. All these things, very big words. So when you see this, first of all, don't be afraid. They are just words only. But if you really do your meditation, yeah, if you do your meditation, all these 18, you will see it. Yeah? You will see it definitely. So don't be too afraid of these big words and Pali words and so on and so forth. Huh? We're going to go through a little bit, and then we're going to explain about it in a more clearer manner. Okay? Now, before we go to the next part, now in this 18 principle insight, in this 18 principle of insight, it comes into two parts. One is the contemplation, that other words that you are noting. And actually what I didn't write over here is the abandonment part. How does it abandon? What does it abandon? You keep on noting on impermanence, on arising and passing away. Now, while you're noting on it, arising and passing away, what actually do you abandon while you're noting? Usually we do not know, because everything will just go through only. But the background is already doing the abandonment of it. So in a real sense, in this 18 principle insight, it comes into two parts. So one is the noting part, the contemplation part. The other one is the abandonment part. Now over here, I just put it briefly so that at least there's not too many words. There's already many words already, but if I'm going to put another one, it's even more scarier. Too many words for you all to take in at the beginning. So we keep it like that first. We keep it like this. Now, let us see this 18 principle insight. Where does it fit in the sutta? Where does it fit all these things in the sutta? And actually all these things, you can find it all in the sutta. But of course, it's not like 18 principle insight. It's not going to be like 18. It's going to be like here and there, everywhere. Like for example, it talks about Viraga Nupassana. Maybe in one sutta it talks about Viraga. Then another sutta it talks about Nibbida. And another way it talks about Dukkha Nupassana. And another part it talks about Adinawa. All these things are all inside the suttas. So in the commentary, they compile it together so that when we are actually meditating, you can actually see those things. Okay. Now, so how are these things connected in the sutta? Let us take Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Let us take Mahasatipatthana or Satipatthana Sutta. Now, Mahasatipatthana Sutta, let me put it in more schematic understanding, rather than we go through all those words. Now maybe afterwards we'll go through a little bit. Okay. Mahasatipatthana or Satipatthana Sutta, it all begins with this. First of all, the three things. Okay, these three. You have the right goal, which is in the theory form, and it talks about Nibbana. Okay, that means the purpose of this Mahasatipatthana or Satipatthana Sutta, it's for the purpose, or the development of Satipatthana is for the purpose of Nibbana. This is theory, right? Now, also in the sutta, also they tell you about the right mental states, the strong noting mind. It talks about effort, energy, concentration that you must have, the mindfulness that you must have in order to do this Satipatthana. This is another thing. The next thing, the third part, is the right objects, the four Satipatthana objects, which is again here is the materiality or the kaya. Then we have the Vedana, we have the feelings, we have the Chittanupassana, we have the mind, and we have the Dhammanupassana. So we have this one. So here as he goes into those circular arrow, So it goes again and again and again and again. Mostly, when you are actually meditating, when you're actually doing the meditation, it's that the right mental states and the right objects you are using it. You know the goal already. You put all this theory aside. Then while you're noting, then these two you are being using again and again, the strong noting mind and the four satipatthana objects. Okay, now when you do it long enough, then it produces insight. Okay, it produces insight. Now, what is the insight? Here afterwards, maybe we're going to look into the sutta a little bit. Now, in that insight, it can be explained as 16 insight knowledge. Or this insight also, it can be explained as 18 principal insights. Now, so you get all this insight, you practice all this insight, then you have nibbana, you have this realization. Yeah, it's quite simple for us to understand in this way. Okay, now let us look into a little bit now. Let me see, where is my Kindle? Yes, here. Okay. Oh, how come so many things are open? Hold on, everybody. Let me close this. Close this. Close. This one also close. Okay. Let me see where I go share my Kindle. All right. Now, in the Satipatthana Sutta, as I said earlier on, it begins with this. It begins with this number 2. This is the goal. This is the right goal, because this is the direct path for purification for beings. Sorry. Where do you go? Yes, here. Okay. Number 2, because this is the direct path for the purification of beings. This one is the goal. But now it's the theory, the theory part of it. And then after that, paragraph number 3 and so on. What are the 4? Then how does the mind has to be noted? How does the body has to be noted? It has to be noted ardently. What is ardent here is the energetic factor. It's a strong energetic factor. Fully aware, here is the wisdom factor. Mindfulness, of course, this is the mindfulness factor. And having put away covetousness and grief for the world, this is the concentration. That means these are the states of mind that you need to develop in order for to take note on the body. So too with the feelings, and so too with the mind, and so too with the mind objects. Then with the understanding of this, it breaks down into breathing, it breaks down into 4 postures, and so on. Now, every of the thing, then here is that insight here. So what does it mean? Let us see. In this way, he abides contemplating the body internally or externally, or internally and externally. The nature of arising, the nature of vanishing, or the nature of arising and vanishing, or else there is a body simply established in him necessary for bare knowledge and mindfulness. And he abides independent, not clinging to anything in the world. This is how Bhikkhu contemplates the body as a body. All right, now here is all being repeated again and again and again and again. In the Satipatthana, there are 21 sort of like objects. Therefore, there will be 21 repetition of this insight. Now, in this paragraph number 5, and also other paragraph also, here, although it's just one paragraph, but when you are actually meditating, it really goes into so much more detail. So much more detail, that is to say, the 16 insight knowledge. If you go through this one. But let's say you don't want to know about 16 insight knowledge, doesn't matter. As long as you really pay attention to all these things, the insight will naturally arise to you. If you do it the right lila. So here is the insight. So then you have 4 postures. Again, this is fall under kaya. And then And then after that, you have the chitta. Okay, we go further down. We go further down until we have Dhammanupassana. Here we have 7 factors of enlightenment for noble truth. Yes, conclusion. Here again, the Buddha says, if you should develop foundation of mindfulness for 7 years, then 1 or 2 fruits may be expected from him. Either the final knowledge here and now, or there is a trace of clinging left, non-return. That means either you are arahant or you are non-returner. So realization, enlightenment, either from 7 years to 7 days. So this is what we call the in gist. So if you want to read more, of course, it'd be good that you go ahead to go through all of it now. So here in this, go back again to my this one. Where is? Okay, sure. Okay, can you all see? Can all right. Mahasatipatthana. Okay. Now here I put it simplified for you. Simplified for you within this Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Then within this insight is where we explain the 18 principle insight, or you can explain it through 16 insight knowledge. All right. Okay. Not too difficult. All right. Now okay. So now at least you know where the 18 principle insight comes from. It comes actually from Satipatthana Sutta itself, if or other places also have. Okay. Now this is what usually we all look as we all meditate, as we all listen to the Dhamma talk, and especially on Vipassana. Then we usually look into this 16 insight knowledge. Okay? Now, in the 16 insight knowledge, for those who don't really understand what is all these things, these 16 insight, they are progressive in nature. They are progressive in nature. That means when you begin of your meditation, then when you begin after that, when you slowly begin to develop further into your meditation, then you begin to discern what is mind and matter, what is mind and body. You become very clear. That's when you discern these things, you only discern these 2 things, and there's no soul inside it, and so on. All right? Then after that, as you keep on practicing and so on, then the knowledge, the second knowledge, the third, fourth, fifth insight, until number 14 and number 15, where that too is the Nibbana. Okay? Then after that, you have number 16 is reviewing back all the insights all over again. Now, here, usually, it's what we learn. Usually what we learn. Although what we learn here about all this progressive insight, although what we learn here, but when it comes into the actual practice, they are not that clear to many yogis. They practice. After a few months already, although they develop far and quite good, then they still do not know whether they pass through the first knowledge or not. Whether discerning of mind and butter, goya boya, it's still mong cha cha, inside there. They still do not know what they are doing. But nevertheless, they already passed through, So their theoretical understanding and their actual observation, they cannot tally. They cannot tally with each other. They could, although the most important thing is the observation, is the direct observation, not the theory part. So a lot of yogis, they may not able to tally all these type of things together. They do not know how to tie all these things together. But nevertheless, it's not so important whether you know how to tie all these things together or not. Your theory and your practice, whether they can go together, it really does not matter. What matter is that you practice more and more. Don't too worry about this theory part. Now, we look at it, usually we look at all these type of things. Sometimes some of us even really remember these things because it's part of all your progress. Then we can understand that. Because it's part of your whole something that you want to develop and you want to get out of this samsara. Good. Now, in this 16th insight knowledge, right, does not mean that when you see, like, for example, knowledge of comprehension, let's say number 3. Okay, you take a look at number 3. When you take a look at the knowledge of comprehension, then there are several principal insights within this knowledge of comprehension. Okay? It does not have just one knowledge only. Whereas even you talk about knowledge, insight knowledge number 4, knowledge of arising and passing away. Although the principal insight over here is the impermanence as the dominant insight, the dominant characteristic, but it does not mean that's the only one only. There can be several principal insight within this knowledge of arising and passing away. Okay? So far, can you able to follow? Let me go back to this 18 principal insight again. Okay. Now, here, let's say the knowledge of, let's say just now the knowledge of comprehension. In the knowledge of comprehension, there is the aspect of impermanence become clear to the yogi. The aspect of change, also number 10, also is clear to the yogi. The aspect of, where is it? Let me see. The aspect of number 2, unsatisfactoriness also is clear to the yogi. Then also number 3, non-self also is clear to the yogi. Actually, also number 4 also, it can be quite clear to the yogi also. It's a kind of like a mixture of characteristics within a same knowledge. Okay? Within that particular knowledge, there is a number of characteristics that you are going to look into, that the yogi is going to see what is really going on with that particular insight. But the yogi, usually, or most of the time, the yogi do not know what they are looking at because it's really, really a mix up of everything. Yeah. Although in the talk, we put it in such a, we put it like it has been permanent inside there, there's unsatisfactoriness inside there, there's dukkha inside there, there's non-self inside there. But actually when you are looking into it, what happened at that particular insight is that like 1 minute you'll be looking at arising, passing away, things are changing. Then after that, 5 minutes later, your buttock will start painful, pain, until no more pain, then disappear. Then after that, it change again, change, something change again, because that pain disappear. Then after that, it goes change again, change here, change there, then after that, you sit down there. Then you realize, hey, how can I cannot control the change one? The change is keep on moving as on its own one. Then the aspect of non-self is already coming in. And then after that, within a minute or two later, the whole pain is coming back again. And then you come back again, and then you really tear you apart, you really pain until you betahan and all that thing and so on. You thought that your meditation is going haywire. That how come? 1 minute I'm so clear, and the next minute is painful. Or sometimes for certain yogis, one sitting is so good, it is pleasant, it's nice, you can be able to see this arising, passing away, everything is changing. Then the next sitting is all the pain here, pain there, pain everywhere. And then after that you think of you want to go back and so on, and you see the teacher's face, after that you dare not go back again, you keep on practicing again. All these things, you think the yogi at that moment of time, the yogi think that he's not going anywhere. He's not doing anything right. How come here everything is changing here and there? How come everything is painful? How come the fluctuation of the mindfulness? How come everything? But that is the nature of the insight. That is the nature of the insight. And here the nature of the insight is such that it is sometimes it's so mixed up of what really is going on. And therefore, because of that, sometimes yogis have doubt. They have skeptical doubt. Practice out, correct or not? Am I doing the right thing or not? Now, the thing is that, Now, the thing is this. If you have the right teacher, then you go through the teacher and the teacher explains some of the things to you, then it says that you're going okay. Yeah? So sometimes the doubt arises. The doubt arises because you may not have any teacher around. And sometimes worse is that you have the wrong teacher. Lagi jalan. You don't have teachers. Now, the first thing is that when you don't have teachers, you kind of like, you're not sure whether all these things are happening. You've never seen it before in your practice, because in the beginning of your practice, when you start this vipassana meditation, let's say you take this rising and falling. Rising and falling is just very small, low, going arise and fall, very nice, very nice. But after you develop after some time, this rising and falling is going to move like as if like, then you never seen it before. How come this rising falling can go to the left side one? How come the rising falling can go to the right side one? How come this rising falling can go like 45 degrees rather than going up or down or going forward or backward? Now this time going here and there. How come? Then you get that, then things are changing. But you go into much more deeper, the rising and falling is going to move even much more further, faster, and yet at the same time, your breath is very calm. You're still breathing very calmly. But your rising, falling, beep, beep, pop, pop, beep, beep, pop, pop, beep, beep, pop, pop. Then you start to think, hey, I practice so much. How come my breathing is still okay? But when I look at my rising and falling, everything is like going haywire. Then when you stop the meditation, everything okay. Posua. No, you're not going crazy. You're not going crazy. But when you start sitting again, everything beep, beep, pop, pop. So if you don't have any teacher to guide you through all those things, then the doubt may arise. This is one thing, then the doubt may arise. Now the second thing is that you able to see all these type of things. You're able to see that, and which is wonderful. But you get the wrong teacher. You get the wrong teacher. Here is that, okay, you go and report to the teacher. And the teacher says, hey, rising, falling cannot be like that one. Rising, falling is just rise and fall. It cannot be going left and right, cannot go circular, cannot. You are doing something wrong already. Or even you use the in-breath, out-breath an object of vipassana, not as an object of samatha. If you use the object of vipassana, also the same thing. They will show the same characteristic like a rising and falling. Sometimes the in-breath, out-breath can go very fast, but you are still breathing very calmly. As if like sometimes one air is coming out from one side, the other side is not coming out. But you don't feel it when you don't really feel the difficulty of breathing while you are sitting. Things are changing very fast. Then here when you go and report to the teacher, then you tell the teacher, hey, Bhante, or Sale, or Mechi, whoever your teacher is, then you can report to this one. Then when you report it, then it says that, hey, all these things cannot, or wrong. While you are actually doing vipassana, we are not talking about samatha, you want to do vipassana and you are developed into a certain level, and the teacher tell you that, go back to just rise and fall. All these things, then that time, what the yogi will have even more doubt. Because every time the yogi sits down, the whole rising, falling, or the whole in-breath, out-breath are going haywire, moving in a very erratic manner, going into a very sometimes very tense manner, and so on. And yet now you're supposed to be follow whatever the teacher say. Whatever the teacher say. Of course, here in the beginning part, whatever the teacher says holds true. Holds true. But when it comes in a deeper aspect of meditation, whoever sits on the Dhamma chair may not have all the experience of meditation. May not have all this experience of meditation. Now, here, I've seen it myself. For many years, I've gone into different places of meditation. I've seen myself, and I've seen with the teachers that I've met before. Then, when I report as truthfully as what I've seen in my own practice, report to the teacher, then the teacher do not know what they are talking about. And the teacher really do not know what they are talking about. Of course, sometimes it may be due to translation. That is another thing. But when the teacher understands what they are, understand what they are talking, but does not understand what is your insight and so on, then that can be a big problem. Can be a big problem. So what do I do? For me here is that finally I must trust my own mindfulness, my own concentration, my own effort, and my own mindfulness, and especially the mindfulness. I got to trust it because this is actually happening in front of me or happening inside me. Am I delusional? Am I dreaming? Am I everything? No, I'm not. I'm not having that, and I'm very clear about it. Because of that, I dare to go further. Because of that, I dare to go further. But many of us may not have that skill. Many of us may not have that skill, or whether to go against the words of the teacher. So, really, this thing comes down to your karma. Anyway, because of all this type of doubt that happened to this one, therefore, one of the purpose of this talk is to clear doubt. Clearing doubts, especially for advanced yogis. Because when you come to a more advanced stage of meditation, not many people is going to explain a lot of things to you. And even the teachers know it also. Even the teachers are experienced in meditation. The teachers also won't go in when you come into the interview session. They're going to explain long-winded. Okay, you are now at this contemplation or that contemplation. You just report. The teacher says, "Okay, carry on." Huh? Carry on. Carry on. That's about that. They tell you only. Because they got another 20 yogis waiting behind you. If they're going to tell you about each and every contemplation, each and every nupassana or whatever, they're not going to tell you all those things. They tell you just, okay, yeah, and they ask you a few questions here and there, you're doing well, okay, carry on. Then usually we carry on, So during the Dhamma talk, is usually they will explain a little bit more if they explain in the Dhamma talks. So here with these talks, with this talk is to help you to clear the doubts, to clear a lot of doubts, so that the yogi can breathe further into the deeper aspect of meditation. So there are a lot of things that are mentioned in the text, and sometimes yogi do not understand it. So sometimes by understanding of this type of talks, then there are certain doubts can be cleared away, then the yogi can push further. Okay? And so number 2, also as you clear the doubts, also you gain confidence. Now you gain confidence that you dare to go further. Here clearing doubts is hindrances, Arousing and confidence, this is faculty or insight, They are, again, although they are connected, but they are two different things. So arousing of this confidence, the yogi dare to pray further, no matter how the insight or how the changes in that thing, they really dare to pay attention to it. And therefore, because of that, they go further into the deeper aspect of meditation. Now, arousing of confidence also. Now, it helps to have certain deeper aspect of understanding of the Dhamma, theoretically at least, that all these things can be experienced by yourself if you practice it long enough. And because of that, sometimes for some people, they have that confidence that they're going to practice and they want to experience it themselves. They have that confidence to push further into the meditation. Or for a beginner, sometimes for some yogis, this type of talks stimulate them, and then they want to go and try further. For this type of talks, for some people, completely 18 principle insight. Okay, biao na may tutup. That's it. Too deep for me. Then they don't want already. So it all depends. For some yogis, for some people, for some devotees, it can be very helpful to them. So one of it is we want to clear the doubts, and we want to arouse confidence, also in the advanced yogi, and also towards hopefully for new devotees or new yogis, so that they can able to go further. Okay, so this is the purpose why we want to talk about it. Now, during in the retreat time, actual retreat, usually if we got time, we talk about this type of insights or deeper insights, on theoretical level, But If a short retreat, usually we don't cover all these stuff things. And moreover, what is important is that you got to understand that this topic is optional. This topic is optional. If you practice properly, thoroughly put your effort, your energy, your time into it, in your heart and your mind into it, your time, then all this 18 principle insight you will see, all this 16 insight knowledge, you will progress through it. Okay, now what else do I look at? Yes, this one. So before we go into again all these things, and then this word anupassana, it is really important to explain about the 18 principle insight, and also to explain a number of other things, especially connected to sutta. Okay. I put, okay, hold on. Okay. The word anupassana. Now you're going to see this word anupassana. If you are looking into Pali, then here there's going to be a lot of anupassana. You see the word here. You have anicca, it's anicca. But the word anupassana, that is another word. Every one of them is being repeated. Anupassana, here anupassana and there anupassana. Normally the English translation, we use the word contemplation. Now you see in many books, when they use this anupassana, they use the word contemplation. Well, I think that this is not a very good word. It's not really a very good word. Now, why is it so? I still stick with contemplation because sometimes we want to refer to books. We want to, at least we know what we are looking at. Now, the word I prefer to use, is actually note. To note or noting. And when it comes into anupassana, in brief, is continuous noting. And that is the brief as it can go. Continuous noting. So in the Visuddhimagga, they explain what is this anupassana. He contemplates or he notes. Anupassati. What does it mean here? He sees always accordingly. Anupassati. The meaning is he sees or he notes again and again in various modes. Hence, it is said he contemplates or he notes. How does he contemplate or how does he note? He contemplates or he notes as impermanent and so on. Dukkha, anatta, and so on. Now, the word here, when you use the word contemplate, usually if we are not familiar with the Pali, or well familiar with meditation, we think this word contemplate is just to think, to ponder, to reflect. That's contemplate. I mean, a deeper aspect of contemplation, you sit there over a cup of tea, you put everything aside, then you kind of like think further, think deeper. That is what it means in English as contemplate. But this is not the actual meaning in Pali. So in Pali here means he sees or he notes or he observes again and again in various modes. Again and again, repeatedly in various modes. Various modes here, that means impermanent, dukkha, and so on. So we use the word anupassana in, like, for example, in the four foundation of mindfulness. You have kaya anupassana. Kaya nupassana, vedana nupassana, chitta nupassana, dhamma nupassana. What do you do with the kaya? You repeatedly observe it again and again in the different mode, different ways. On the materiality, on the wind element, Rising, falling, the wind element. In breath, out breath, wind element. Lifting, pushing, dropping of your movement of your feet, wind element. This falls under Kayanupassana. So how do you do it? You note on them again and again, again. That's what it means here. So you Vedananupassana is the same thing. All your pain, you note it. This pain, that pain, you note it again and again and again and again. Moment after moment. So too with Chittanupassana, so too with Dhammanupassana. Okay, this is normally what we see if we look into the Pali in the four foundation of mindfulness. Then you have this Anicca-nupassana, Dukkha-nupassana, Anatta-nupassana, Viraga-nupassana, and so on. So what is again on Anupassana? That means you see this Anicca again and again and again and again and again, repeatedly. Dukkha also the same thing. You see it repeatedly again and again and again and again. Anatta also the same thing. You see it repeatedly again and again and again and again. Moment after moment, until you sit there for 1 hour, you be alert, you become clear, you pay attention, and all the various changes are happening so-called in front of you, or within your noting mind. So the word is anupassana. So again, we go back to this one again. We go back to all these things. So that means you're not going to note all these things satu kali saja, not one time only, It has to be repeatedly observed again and again and again and again. Some people, some yogis, they come to me, they say, they meditate, Bhante, this sitting meditation, when I sat down, I noticed it rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling. Wow. Then after that, I cannot see rising, falling anymore. Everything gone. Wow, Bhante, this time wholesale, Bhante. I see arising, passing away already, Bhante. I see impermanent, Bhante. Wow. Gavesi, you look at it 2 or 3 times only, then you interpret it yourself that, I see this anicca already. No lah, not yet lah, not yet. Hapo pun tak ada lagi lah. You're not even got the dust yet lah. Not yet. Not yet. Anicca-nupassana, just to give you the same anicca-nupassana, you got to repeat it again and again. What do you mean again and again? That means you sit there the whole hour. Perhaps you're going to sit there looking at it the whole hour. Perhaps. Sometimes it may be for a short while, then you come back again, another thing come in between, after that the rising, passing away, coming back again and again. After that, it may not be in one stretch, but it can also come back in different time. But it is not like you just go a little bit, rising, falling a little bit. I see dukkha, I see anicca already, I see anicca. No lah. Or you go and sit down there, go and meditate a little bit. You pain in the buttock, you know the pain. Bhante, hose liao, I see the pain already. I see dukkha-nupassana already, Bhante. Not yet. Not yet, not like that yet. So it got to be repeated again and again and again and again and again and again. And sometimes when it comes into the deeper insight, it's called momentariness of it. Repeatedly, moment after moment after moment after moment after moment after moment. Sometimes the Sayadaw Pandita or the Burmese Sayadaw used to say, if 1 hour you sit, you got 3,600 seconds, then there's 3,600 noting mind. That means that is called anupassana, there's continuous form of repetition of noting. But of course, most of us tak boleh lah, not. Okay, we go into a lot of whatever thinking, go into a lot of stories, go into a lot of history, go into a lot of future. Then after that, We remind ourselves, hey, supposed to meditate. Then you come back and no. Right. Usually we cannot able to have continuous flow. But this is in the beginning part. A number of yogis that I've seen also, the whole hour they sit down, they can able to see without thinking coming in. Not to say without thinking, they can even note the thinking itself. When you're able to note the thinking, it becomes anupassana again. Yeah? So it becomes a continuous form of anupassana. So anupassana here is repeatedly, you note them again and again. Hey, this is sorry, this word is wrong already lah. This is sunya. Later I change it. All right. Let me see. Okay, so he pays attention when you talk about kaya nupassana, you watch it again and again. When you vedana nupassana, you watch it again and again. When chitta nupassana, you come in, you rub it again and again. And then usually in the practice, we say that if it becomes prominent, you pay attention to it. Sometimes the prominency of an object is longer. For example, you can able to notice the pain as if like it's so long. Although it's just 5 minutes only, but you think like you're sitting there for half an hour already. But sometimes you notice your pleasant feelings. You note pleasant, so nice, pleasant. You think that you are just noting 5 minutes, but again, half an hour gone. It's just opposite. So we know that. So this is what we mean by anupassana. And this is important. Important for us to able to understand that impermanence is not the satu kali sahaja. It's going to be a lot of times. Even we don't able to incalculable. Okay, so this is anupassana. Okay, now. Hold on. Now I talk about this vipallasa. Now so happened that the last week Sunday, there was a small group of our by Wisdom Center. It's a small Q&A group. Then somebody asked about vipallasa. Nevertheless, also this aspect of vipallasa is going to be repeated again when we are talking about insight. Now, when we look at why we now when we look at ourselves, why we just stuck in samsara, cannot go out. We keep on repeating ourselves in this samsara again and again. The Buddha says it's very true because of our craving. We crave for something. We delight in this, we delight in that. Why do we delight in all these things? Why that when we see something beautiful, the mind already attached to it? Why when you see something is ugly, the mind detests it, anger arises? The craving comes in because there is distortion or perversion of our mind. With the Buddha used the word vipallasa. Sanya vipallasa, chitta vipallasa, ditthi vipallasa. Now, here, when you use the word vipallasa here, we, in our everyday life, we don't see that we are having this distorted perception. The moment you see these things which is beautiful to you, you already have that the happiness is already there already. The joy factor is already at the forefront already. The greed is behind it, holding on to that what you see now, then the joy is covering, and then you're happy. You get excited about it. But behind that craving, now behind that desire, behind that craving, behind that desire, then there lies again this sanya vipallasa and chitta vipallasa. Sanya vipallasa means distortion of perception. The word D here is distortion of perception. That means we see certain thing. The moment that we see it, automatically the craving comes up. Why? Because we see it as something beautiful. Distorted perception. Yeah? So, the whole purpose of our vipassana meditation is to change this sanya vipallasa, to change this sanya vipallasa into the right sanya. What is the right sanya? What is the right perception? And this perception is perception of anicca, perception of dukkha, perception of anatta, perception of viraga, and so on. Now, let me go back all these things again. Go to the first one. Now here, all these things, what you see here, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, non-self, disenchantment, fading away, cessation, all these are at the perceptive level, not at the thinking level. This is on the perceptive level. We talk about the 5 aggregates. When we talk about 5 aggregates, the aggregate of perception. The aggregate of perception is all distorted. Because it's all distorted, then it gives rise to all kinds of defilements. You give rise to all kinds of defilements. That's why you stay in samsara. You stay in samsara, although you may be very happy, you go up, you change from one heaven to another heaven, you play from one heaven to another heaven, you die here, you born another heaven, but you're still in samsara. Why? Because certain distortion of our mind, of our sanya, is not straightened out yet. Still there's some degree of distortion. So too with all of us, as long as we are still as a putujana, or even you are partially enlightened and not arahant, then some degree of distortion is still there. So we need to kind of like iron them out. We got to straighten them out to make it right. So to make them right, we need to pay attention. We need to note. We need to anupassana on what? Kaya, Vedana, Chitta, and Dhamma Nupassana. Yeah? So we got to pay attention to those things again and again in order to straighten our sanya. Yeah? So again, so here we're going to have a lot of straighten out our perception. We straighten out our perception. First of all, we do not even know that we are having distorted perception. Until one day you have the right perception, then when you remember that, hey, then only you realize, hey, that time I was my thinking and my distortion was there. But when you are ignorant, you do not know that you are ignorant. No. You're still happily, blissfully, ignorantly happy. Until one day you become clear, you become your so-called wisdom eye open. Then when you look back, then only you realize that there is a attachment, or there's a wrong perception or wrong thinking was there. So too the same thing here. When we come into vipassana, also the same thing. We do not know that we are wrong, but because of our trust in the Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and with the practice, then we put ourselves into the practice. Then by keep on noting, then we slowly and slowly begin to change our perception from the wrong perception to the right perception. Sanya, from sanya vipallasa to the right sanya. Okay, so here the vipassana in our normal daily life, because we see that it is something, we do not know that it is wrong. So the perception sees that it is beautiful. The moment it sees that it's beautiful, the thinking or the consciousness arises with what? It arises with a lot of craving, a lot of attachment, or a lot of desire. And then the clinging arises this is at the chitta level already. Then you think that this beautiful thing is going to last forever. It's going to last forever and ever, from this life to the next life and next life and forever. Then it goes into a distortion of views. Yeah? So here, our wrong view all arises because of our wrong thinking. Wrong thinking arises because of our wrong perception. So we got to iron the perception out. So this is what vipassana do. It's just to change the perception. Huh? All right. Now, we change this perception at the same time also. At the same time also, we need to have abandonment. You cannot change something, something doesn't go. Something also is also change. Okay. Earlier on in the beginning of the talk, I mentioned that these 18 principles insight, they have two parts of it. One part is the contemplation, the noting part. That means you note on the object, you see impermanence. Then, when you see that impermanent, it also automatically, by default, it also go through a certain abandonment. You also go through a certain abandonment. Now, here, our 18 principles of insight, the abandonment is at number 2. Abandonment through substitution of the opposite. Okay, this is the 18 insight knowledge. All this is under number 2. Now, what is number 1? Abandon through suppression. Abandon through suppression. It means that your defilements is being abandoned through development of samatha meditation, or specifically the jhana. Okay, specifically the jhana. But if in the vipassana level, it's the momentary concentration. Right? The momentary concentration also do the suppression of all the hindrances. So too, like when you do samatha meditation, when you develop the jhana, the hindrances are all being suppressed by the wholesome mental states. So, this is number 1. Number 2, we go to number 3 first. Abandonment through cutting off. That means here, it's at the magga and phala. It cuts off at the latent defilements. It cuts it off at latent defilements. That means it will never arise again. Okay, that one, first one and third one, quite easy to understand. The second one, it is where it is become it expanded quite a lot. And the whole thing here, the whole 18 principle insight can fit under this substitution of the opposite. What do you mean by substitution of the opposite? Okay, now just give you a brief before we go. Now you see, you look at number 1 first. One who develops the contemplation of impermanence, anicca, abandons the perception of permanence. It's just go the opposite. One who develops the contemplation on unsatisfactoriness, abandons the perception of pleasure. One contemplation of anatta, perception of self. What is disenchanted? What is delighting? And so on. Later part. Another day we're going to look into it. Now, in order for us to understand this thing, let's say you look at number 1, contemplation of impermanence. let's say you are a yogi right now, and you are paying attention to your objects, and your objects at this moment arising and passing away. It arises and passing away. And again, when we use the word arising and passing away, different yogis experience the arising and passing away differently. Some yogis experience it at one spot, arise and passing away very fast, moment after moment. Some yogis experience this arising and passing away like a stream, one after another, like it goes from one terminal, it goes to another terminal. Yeah. Some yogis experience arising and passing away as if like very random, as if like it moves from one part to another part, another part, another part, another part, as if like it's very random, moving here and there. All of them experience arising and passing away. But they experience it in a slightly different manner. Okay? Yeah, the experience is slightly different manner. But all of them experience the principle of insight, which is right now is the impermanent. Okay? So, while they are experiencing that arising and passing away, no matter how they do it, what they do not know is that at the behind it, that moment of that noting, the perception of something which is permanent is abandoned. It's abandoned. You don't realize it yourself, but behind it, the perception is being straightened out moment by moment. It's already doing its job for you. You don't go and have meditate this year. Meditate rising, falling, arising and passing away, arising. Hey, now perception of permanence, bro. Now, God or not, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go and think about it. You don't go and, even the yogi also go and don't think about it. It is arising, passing away. Hey, what contemplation I'm doing right now? Is it anicca nupassana or anatta nupassana right now? You don't even think about it. Because if you think about it, it already goes into citta vipallasa already. That means your whole thinking is already biased already about your noting right now. You see that there's only a fine line. Even you don't think and just paying attention. It's a very fine line. So it's to say that many of the teachers say, hey, when you pay attention to your object, don't think so much. Just pay attention to it. Just pay attention to it. Yeah, just note. The teachers are correct. Just note. I mean, but when we learn about these type of things, when things are happening very fast, then go and start having citta type of thinking already. Am I looking at impermanent, or I'm looking at anatta, or am I still looking at kaya, or this is citta, or this is vedana, or this is dhammanupassana? What am I looking at? Now, because of that, the doubt arises. So other words, you put it all aside. When you pay attention, when you note this arising and passing away, let's say at this moment of time, automatically the perception of permanence is disappear. Yeah, automatically. All right. So there'll be a lot of all this explanation. We're going to look into it in the next talk. And the next talk, I think, will be on Thursday, same time, the same Zoom, same this one, or in or Facebook or YouTube. We're going to talk about it on Thursday, and we're going to discuss on this thing more, more. Then maybe I'll put it a little bit more easier for you to see. So we stop here. We stop here, and then on Thursday we're going to continue on this topic on 18 principle of insight. 18 principle insights. Okay. All right. So stop the sharing right now.